Memorizing the 49 Processes, PMBOK Guide, 6th edition. This video is for individuals who are preparing to sit for the PMP Certification Exam. The objective is to demonstrate a 10-step method to 1. Memorize the 49 processes, and 2. Create a process matrix that will help you during the exam. This 10-step process will walk us through the steps to create the process matrix, which is something you'll want to create at the beginning of the exam. You want to be able to create this matrix within 5 to 6 minutes, and this 10-step process will show you how to put it together and do it quickly. Step 1. We start with a blank sheet of paper. We're going to put a grid on that paper with 7 columns and 13 rows. The first 2 columns and first 2 rows can be narrow, because those rows will only contain single-digit numbers and single letters. Now rows 5 through 11 need to be a little bit taller, because you'll need to enter more information into those rows. Step 2. Enter the first letter of each knowledge area in column 1, starting at row 4. And to help you remember these knowledge areas, we use mnemonics. So we have a memory phrase that will help us remember these 10 letters. That memory phrase is, I saw Santa Claus quickly racing Comet right past Saturn. Now if you don't like the memory phrase, make up another one. But this is the one we're contributing, and it works pretty well. We'll do several of these memory phrases throughout this video, and if you want to change a word in the phrase, modify the phrase, the point is it helps you remember what you need to create the matrix. Step 3. Fill in column 2. These are the number of processes for each knowledge area, and the numbers are 766, 43, 63, 73, 4. Now how do we remember these 10 numbers? When it comes to numbers, you want to look for patterns, and also you might look for number combinations that are meaningful. In this case, we're dealing with 10 numbers, which happens to be the same number of digits you'll see in a common phone number if you include the area code. So that's the direction we'll take on this one. If the first 3 digits were an area code, it would be 766, which happens to be a real area code in New York State. So if you live in New York State, this will be even more meaningful to you. And then for the remaining 7 digits, we notice there are 3 pairs of numbers that all end in 3. It's 43, 63, 73. We also notice that these last 7 digits start with 4 and end with 4. So the way to handle this list of 10 numbers, read it through several times. If you note the patterns, then it will be easier for you to remember. 766, 43, 63, 73, 4. Say that through several times, and you'll be surprised how well you'll remember that and be able to apply it to the matrix. Step 4. Enter the first letter of each process group in row 1, starting with column 3. Now these letters aren't too hard to memorize, but we have a memory phrase just in case. The memory phrase is, in physics, Eddie makes C's. Some of us may relate to this. Step 5. Fill in row 2 with numbers 2, 24, 10, 12, and 1. These are the numbers of processes for each process group. We don't have a memory phrase for this one, but we do have some hints. Some observations that we've noticed about the numbers. Initiating has twice as many processes as closing. Planning has twice as many processes as monitor and controlling. When you subtract the number of initiating processes from the number of monitor controlling processes, this equals the number of executing processes. Just remember, once all the numbers are plugged in, they need to total up to 49. Step 6. Now we're going to focus on row 3. Row 3 is arguably the most important row because that's where we're going to fill in all the clues that are going to help us fill out the rest of the matrix. So row 3, column 3, enter just do it. There's only 2 processes in this column, and one starts with a D and one starts with an I. Now let's fill in row 3, column 4. Plan 10, DC, DC, DS, E, DE, DE, IPP. There's 24 processes in this column, so our mnemonic is quite long. How do we remember that? Well, we have an advantage. Although there's 24, the good news is 10 of those 24 start with the word plan. And even better, the second word of those process names is usually the name of the knowledge area. So we'll see, for example, plan scope, plan schedule, plan cost, plan quality, etc. And so when it comes time to fill them in, it will be fairly straightforward. So that will help us with the Plan 10. What about the other 14? Well, we have another memory phrase to help us remember that long string of 14 letters. Dastardly candies, double-crossing dandelions, spread ever deadly evil destruction everywhere in Patty's petunias. Obviously, Candy, the neighborhood tyrant, enjoys sprinkling dandelion seeds in the flower beds of her neighbors. In column 5 of row 3, enter DMM, ADMMICM. We have a memory phrase for that one. Dandy Mandy's magnificent African daisies motivate mischief in Candy's mind. So after what Candy did with Patty's flower bed, she's moved on and is now looking at Mandy's flower bed and has designs on doing the same thing. Now you'll also see we wrote Manage 5 below that mnemonic. Manage 5 means there are 5 process names that begin with the word manage in this list. So everywhere you see an M in that string of 10 letters, the M's represent processes that start with the word manage. All right, let's move on to column 6. And in this column, we enter PMVC5MMCM. The mnemonic for this one, or memory phrase, Practical Mandy's vigilant canine 5 makes mischievous Candy mad. In this scenario, our local troublemaker, Candy, would like to do the same thing to Mandy's flower bed, but the dog in the yard is making her reconsider. The C5 in this mnemonic means there are 5 consecutive processes that begin with the word control. Finally, column 7 of row 3, we enter close 1. Close 1 means there's only one process name in this column, and it starts with the word close. Step 7. Now we can start filling in process names. Add 3 process names in the top 2 corners of the table and the bottom left corner. When you're done, it will look like an upside-down L. Once you've done this, you'll have completed 2 of the 5 process groups. Important note, you have to be able to draw this process chart within 5 to 6 minutes. And so you want to abbreviate your process names. Now in this video, you'll see that we've abbreviated many of the names. If you can abbreviate them differently and use less letters, we encourage you to do that, because that means you'll be able to recreate the table faster. However, make sure that you don't abbreviate so much that when you're in the middle of the exam and you refer to the table, you can't recognize the process name because you only used 1 letter or maybe 2 letters. Step 8. Now fill the monitoring and controlling column. Remember, this process group has 5 consecutive process names that start with the word control. You can see that most of the knowledge areas have a monitor and controlling process. With 2 exceptions, initiate and scope have 2 processes. Step 9. Now fill in the executing column. Keep in mind that 3 knowledge areas, scope, schedule, and cost, create baselines. Those knowledge areas focus more on planning and monitoring and controlling. So in these knowledge areas, you will not have any executing processes. Remember also that 5 of the 10 executing processes begin with the word manage. Step 10. Now fill in the planning column. First, add the 10 processes that begin with the word plan. 9 knowledge areas, all but integration management, have a process that begins with the word plan, and risk management actually has 2. Given that this is the last column to be filled in, you can determine how many planning processes still need to be added for each knowledge area by comparing the number in column 2 with the number of processes you've already entered in that row. Now fill in the remaining 14 processes using the mnemonic. With that, our process matrix is complete. So let's walk through that again. Step 1. Draw a grid with 7 columns and 13 rows. Step 2. Write the letters for the 10 knowledge areas in column 1. Step 3. Write the number of processes for each knowledge area in column 2. Step 4. Write the letters to represent the different process groups in row 1. Step 5. Write in the number of processes for each process group in row 2. Step 6. Now it's time to fill row 3. Write in the memory phrase for the initiating process group, the mnemonic for the planning process group, the mnemonic for the executing process group, the mnemonic for the monitoring and controlling process group, and the mnemonic for the closing process group. Step 7, add in the 3 corners. Step 8, add the monitoring and controlling processes. Step 9, add the executing processes. And Step 10, add the planning processes. Keep in mind that adding the planning processes has 2 steps. First, lay in the processes that begin with the word plan. Second, insert the 14 additional processes in planning. And you're done. To download a free summary of this 10-step process, go to www.banyanpm.com. If you're watching this video on our website, we'd love your constructive feedback. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love your comments there as well. We hope this helps. Good luck to you.